When you've built your family wealth up, what are the steps that you need to take to ensure that your children grow up to be responsible, hardworking adults? Let's find out. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dollars and Cents, Hapo Community Credit Union's financial literacy podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about future planning and generational wealth. In the studio with me today, we've got Tony and Brenna, father and daughter, who own and operate Christiansen Inc., correct?
Correct.
Welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
Sure. So our business, the roots go back to 1980. It's actually a third generation family business. So my parents, Gary and Annette, started it. My dad worked for Mobil Oil Corporation for a decade. And then they decided that after bouncing around from Los Angeles to Seattle to Portland, they decided they wanted to be in a smaller community and actually own their own business.
Okay.
And so they actually heard about this small little fuel distribution company located in Grandview, Washington, that the family was selling at an estate sale.
An estate sale?
An estate sale on a
okay.
weekend. And so they heard about it a couple of weeks before the sale. They went and checked out the business. It had just a couple of employees, and they decided that they liked the Yakima Valley and that they would try to buy the business, which they did.
Okay. I was going to say, I've heard of ways of acquiring businesses before, either inheriting, like we're going to be talking about today, or going out and finding somebody who's ready to retire. Estate sale is a new one for me.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. And yeah, they pretty much sold everything they had, house, cars, everything, just to be able to get the down payment for the business.
Okay, so it's not like they were getting a screaming deal like you're going to go pay $200 and walk away with a full fuel company here.
No. They were, yeah, it was pretty courageous what they did. If you hear them tell the story, they were pretty scary. They're scared. They were pretty worried. They bet everything on this little business, and the business actually came with the property where the business was located actually had a small 1-bedroom home. That's the house I grew up in.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was right there next to the office and the truck yard. And my dad promised my mom when they bought the business, he said, "Hey, look, to save money, we're going to move into this little house here, stone house on the corner of the property." He said, "Just give me a year." And we grew up in that house.
How long are they still in that house?
No, they're not in that house. Not in that house, but I think we lived there for 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
And they finally broke down, and because it was just 1 bedroom, and there was 4 kids.
Okay.
Yeah. And so for the first year or so, my parents, they slept on a hide-a-bed, and my brothers and I actually had the bedroom. And finally they broke down and they converted the attic into a room and put us kids up there.
Okay. Was it bunk beds, or was this all sharing?
We had 2 sets of bunk beds.
There you go. All right. Were you top bunk or bottom bunk? Or did you get to shift?
I had the bottom bunk.
Okay.
Yeah. First class. It was first class. Yeah.
So growing up in there, was this an entire family operation? Were all the kids involved in helping with the business, or was that
was kind of my parents' vision? My mom actually worked as the company's controller. My dad handled operations and sales, and since we lived right there by the office and right by the warehouse, my parents got us involved. I remember even as young as 6, 7 years old, going and taking the garbages out in the office, sweeping the warehouse. As we got older, we would wash fuel delivery trucks, and yeah, they had us do a whole lot of things growing up. So we learned the business from the ground up.
Okay. And that's actually a great way to get into this. I have a good friend of mine who was one of my roommates at Washington State University, who is in a similar situation. He grew up, his father started a fire sprinkler business, and now his brother owns and operates that business. But he has, by his telling of it, has done every single different job in that company, from designing, sales, marketing, actual field work. It sounds like that's kind of the education that you got here as well. Yes. Did you ever get roped into doing the actual fuel deliveries?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
I'm assuming that takes a certain amount of extra licensing to get out there and drive those fuel trucks.
So we were too young to have commercial driving licenses. So yeah, it's a very regulated business. And so no, we didn't jump in the truck and make deliveries.
All right. Brenna, did you get into this business doing the same type of stuff? Were you washing trucks and taking out the garbage?
No, I wasn't. I actually started with more of office work, filing stuff. I would say I started around the age of 15. I had an internship with my sister. She's about 2 years older than me. So we started with office work. We filed stuff, scanned old photos, and kind of just did random tasks that they needed done.
Of course.
Yeah.
I worked at my dad's law firm when I was in high school doing filing clerk work. And it was, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, come in, help out the office. But you get a feel for what happens in the business in the day to day when you're just around those type of things.
Yeah, exactly. And it was something we mainly did just throughout the summer. It was a way to earn a little bit of extra cash. And like you said, get a feel for what the business is about, what they're doing, and more of an understanding.
So today, with the company as it is, what are each of your roles with Christiansen Inc?
So I am currently on the IT team, and then I as well do communications, which is sort of like the marketing team. So I'm starting on like the social media marketing. So I do a lot of their posts, putting that stuff together. I also am trying to be a part of more of like the events they're doing, stuff like that. On the IT team, I've for a couple of months now, I've been doing programming. I went to school for computer programming, computer web design, and social media marketing. So
you and I are the same person.
I have a love for all of those things.
I do software engineering and website development and automated marketing. Here, as well as then, of course, our podcast, which is always fun for me. But yes, the stuff that you're doing and the coming up, having worked in the family business a little bit. I didn't go quite that far in the family business because I was told that I wasn't allowed to get a law degree by my parents. Well, I could have, but they wouldn't have helped pay for it. So I immediately had to branch out to go to my own route in college. But the development side of things is fascinating. And what is your role with the company today?
Much less interesting than both of your roles. I'm CEO.
Maybe less interesting, but much more important, or at least overall, you're leading the ship.
Yeah, I don't look at it that it's any more important than any other role. My role really is to ensure that the company's got great talent like Brenna and our other several hundred team members, and just make sure that we're aligned on where we're going.
Okay, so that's the thing I was going to ask about. You mentioned that when Grandma and Grandpa, Mom and Dad bought this business, there were a handful. Like, did you say 4 employees?
Yeah, so I think they had 6 employees when they bought the company.
And now you said a couple hundred?
We've got about 400 team members.
Okay, so needless to say, you have done a little bit of expansion in the company over the past couple of years.
Yes.
How has that transition? When you took it over, how much had the company grown by the time it came to you?
Yeah, so kind of the growth trajectory was it took. Initially, when my parents bought the company, they kind of had to build the foundation out. And so that first decade really was a lot of really hard work by both my mom and dad and the small team they had to build a foundation. My dad's a great salesperson, and for that first decade, he was really the only salesperson. And then they got a foundation built. And through the 90s, with my parents' leadership, the business grew quite well. I had an older sibling who came into the business in the late 90s. I joined in 2001.
Okay.
And then another sibling joined in 2003. And so we had a real strong stretch of growth in the early 2000s. And it's over the years, it's just been steady growth. And it's been a lot of contribution from a lot of folks, both family and non-family. We just have had a great team. So that business that started in 1980, the revenue, the sales back then were about $3 million.
Okay.
And now we're crossing over into the low billions, so a little over $1 billion in revenue. So.
And how much has the area that you service expanded over that time?
So the company initially just focused on the lower Yakima Valley. And now we do business throughout 7 Western states.
Okay. So a little bit, again, went from a 6-person team to about a 400-person team, and almost an equivalent in area as far as an expansion, would you say? Or is it actually a little bit more that, like, as far as like the growth? Because we're what, not quite tenfold. Oh no, not quite 100-fold on the size of the company and the work that you're doing. That region that you are now supporting is quite a bit bigger as well.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously, as you mentioned, there's a lot of hard work and dedication that went into this. I mean, also Dad had to sell Mom on 1 year in a house when it turned into 8. So he is one heck of a salesman. What else did you learn? What sort of attitude, mindset things did you learn growing up watching this happen and partaking in it?
Yeah, being that close to the business and just really was able to learn from my parents' example. And things that I picked up even as a youth was just that the customers really are the lifeblood of the business, and that you really need to prioritize serving them. Mm-hmm. And in order to serve them well, you need to treat your team members well. And when you've got great team members who are passionate about the business, they in turn provide great customer service. And so I learned that focus on the team members and entrust that they're going to do a great job taking care of those customers.
Okay. And when you started coming up, watching all of this happen in the family, helping out, what type of things were you seeing as you grew up with this business going on?
I think one of the most important things that I learned from my dad was to never give up. Same from my grandparents as well. We more so recently actually did, I think just last week, we did a founding story video with my grandparents on the company, and just over and over they reiterated that they always treat people with kindness, treat people the way that you want to be treated, and always be courageous. When they bought the company and they sold a really nice house that they had, a bigger home, pretty nice cars, to shrink down, have this 1-bedroom house, buy this business. They didn't know how it was going to go. They were courageous with it. They took this leap of faith. And that's something that I've learned as well, just to take these leaps of faith, right?
Trust in yourself.
Yeah, trust in yourself. And they had each other. They had their family. They put their boys to work. And they made it work for them. And then now it's being passed down. There's not handouts. Everyone has to work hard. And just throughout working with the business, I've just really, being older now, I've grown way more of an appreciation, more than I ever have, regarding what they went through, what they did to be here. Same with my dad. My dad made a lot of sacrifices when we were younger. There was a lot of things he couldn't attend or be a part of because he was working so hard to build this, not just for him and his family, but for his siblings, for the rest of us, for me, my cousins. They all worked extremely hard to get where we are.
So you say in there that you've got, cousins and other people, and we've mentioned, obviously not all of the employees here are members of the family. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at this being a vehicle of building wealth, not just for your family, but extended family and other people's families. Can you talk about whether or not that feels like a big responsibility, or was that part of your plan, was to lift up all of these families with providing them some sort of a vehicle to provide for their families and your future generations?
Yeah, we look at it that businesses, particularly family-owned businesses, are really important, play an important role in society, and they can be a great opportunity to create wealth, not just for the owners and for the owning family, for its team members as well. And so what'll make a company really successful is when there is very intentional focus around creating value for all the key stakeholders. Mm-hmm. That includes customers, that includes team members, that includes the owners, that includes the community as a whole. Things that were really important to my parents as they were building the company were to ensure that there was value being created for team members. And so they were always very generous. They were very progressive on their 401k program.
Okay.
How much they matched, even as a smaller fuel distribution company, they would make outsized investments into the 401k.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier that if the employees are happy and want to be there and they're taking pride in their work, that's going to flow down into the customer service and the customers wanting to work with you and your company. And if you've got people that are excited to be there, that benefits package, we've talked about that on previous episodes as well, just makes for a happier employee, bringing them to work, bringing that energy to the job itself. I think you're right. It lifting everybody up up in those positions is, while it might not necessarily be a monetary wealth thing, I would much rather go to a job that I enjoy being at for slightly less money, or, well, the same, if we're being honest. Yeah. But I would much rather go there and have a enjoyable work day than going to a job that I'm just like, man, I got to get a paycheck, and that's why I'm here, and that I'm just here so I don't get fined. Marshawn Lynch, one of my favorite quotes. So with these ideas here, what other type of wealth, what vision do you guys have for the future? Not just necessarily for the company, but for the family, generationally building something that everybody can work from.
We had several years ago, we had one of our independent board directors who their family actually had a family business, a well-known family business in the region that was actually in their 7th generation. And she gave me some really wise counsel. Because she asked me, she said, Tony, what are you doing to prepare the next generation to be stewards of this family company? And I didn't have a great answer. And she said, you need to be really intentional about that. And as CEO for the company, she said, that needs to be one of your key responsibilities, because as this business, if you want it to succeed into the 3rd and 4th and 5th generation, you need to be preparing those individuals so that they understand how the business works and what the responsibilities of a shareholder are. And she actually gave us some really great ideas of things that they had done in their family company around putting some structure around internships, around family meetings, talking about the company and how it creates value for customers, how it creates value in the community, so that family members, of whether they were working in the business full-time or not, really gained an appreciation for the history of the business and the value that business was creating in their communities.
Okay. So with that, is this kind of the internship type of structure that you went through?
Yes. And I would say, like, most of my siblings have done it besides one, but he's younger. And then I've had cousins that have done it. We've all it's been like a trickle effect. I think me and my sister were the first ones to do it.
They were the guinea pigs.
Yeah, we were the guinea pigs, which it was really fun. We had so much fun. We did it together. And like I said, it was during the summer. We'd go work a couple hours, get our filing done, and go to lunch or something.
Do you feel like with this opportunity that you're maybe a step or two ahead of some of your peers that maybe don't have a structure like this or a role model who is focused on bringing them along or doesn't have the opportunity to?
I would say yes, and I would mainly say it's from the knowledge that we're gaining doing this stuff. Like the work ethic, we've learned a lot about like money and finances. My parents have taught us a bunch about, credit scores, credit cards, stuff that you're not going to learn in high school. You're not going to learn in college. It's stuff that you get through hands-on experience.
Yeah, life skills.
Life skills, yeah.
Being able to take those lessons in a situation where you're gaining those pieces and applying them to the rest of your life is fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, totally.
So are you planning to do you have eyes set on the CEO seat? Or are you looking at
No, I don't think I could take that on.
Well, not tomorrow, but in the future, do you have do one of your siblings or cousins have eyes where they're kind of looking at like, you know what, maybe this is the route that I want to take?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how many of my siblings or cousins will end up working at the company. As of right now, I'm the only one. My brother is home from school, so he's currently working there as well, but he'll head off to school. It'll be his first year at college. So right now it's kind of just me. I don't know, wherever the wind takes me, I guess.
Can I share a funny story?
Oh, absolutely.
So after Brenna and her sister, as part of this internship program we put together, this was several summers ago, we actually had our executive team. We actually had Brenna and her sister actually come in and present to the executive team.
Okay.
Actually present what did they learn during their summer internship. And they both did really great presentations. And our CFO at the time, he asked the girls, he said, okay, based on your internship, do you have any ideas on what future roles you would want to have in the company? And Brenna looked right at the CFO and she said, I'll take your job.
I was 16.
Have you since decided that CFO is not the title that you're aiming for?
That's not for me. I love social media. I love marketing. I think I'm more steering towards that route. And I do IT product management. I love that as well. So like going 50-50 on those two, I love those two.
A CTO position, CIO position, Chief Technology Officer, Information Officer.
I'll probably need that.
those are out there.
Yeah.
However, you would still say that all of this is fantastic foundational experience that you've had that you're going to be able to use wherever you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have eyes on a particular third generation individual that you'd like to see step up? You don't need to call them out particularly unless you really want to.
We've got a lot of great team members, and so CEO, one of my key responsibilities is always looking for talent for the organization and ensuring that we have good programs in place and career development plans in place. And for me, I just want to make sure that Christiansen's got a great team, and being able to see some of my kids have interest in the business, that's rewarding. But they've got to earn their way, and so we try to be intentional with not just the family member employees, but all Christiansen employees around career development opportunities and trying to be thoughtful around that.
Well, and you mentioned something there that is interesting. It rings a bell for me about some of the other things that that was almost a word. Generational wealth kind of comes from a place with a lot of, I'll say it's got some great value for everybody that's doing this, but there's some social media aspects to it where you see a lot of these kids that are just kind of floating. I would say that when I was growing up, Paris Hilton kind of fell into that, the Nepo baby aspect of things. Now, looking at what she's doing now, Paris Hilton has turned into quite the businesswoman, but growing up, she was all social media, all the party kid, didn't look like she was going to be a responsible adult in any way, shape, or form. Do you ever have any concerns that like if you were to just hand this off, that somebody wouldn't be able to do it? Obviously, you're putting together these programs.
We've worked hard to put governance structures in place. One of the things we've done, we have independent board directors, and so they play a role in helping us identify who are going to be in leadership roles within the organization. Try to provide objectivity there. I'm sure when I came into the business in 2001, I'm the boss's kid. I'm the boss's son. I'm now in the business. I'm sure there were employees at the time as they saw me make mistakes and fall on my face. I'm sure they would say, "Wow, is this guy gonna, be one of our leaders in the future?" And in the company, we do have a saying that we celebrate our successes and failures. And what that means to us is you want to be celebrating those wins and they help you give momentum. It's just as important that when you fail to it's not a rah-rah celebration, but it's more of an introspective celebration. Like, hey, that was something, we tried something, we failed. What did we learn from it? And I was given a lot of opportunities coming up through the organization to fail at. And I think that's really helped me be in the leadership role I am today, because I had those opportunities and get that experience. Yeah,
failing forward, I think is one of the phrases that you'll hear. Where you the learning opportunities that come about. Not everything is a win. Not every idea is going to be extremely successful, but you can take a nugget from everything that you've done and look at it and be like, okay, maybe we don't go that route in the future. I've been there before. This is some history. Maybe let's go this other route this time around.
Yeah, that experience is invaluable. Yeah.
Seeing these type of fails, quote unquote, but successes at the same time, what sort of a mindset do you think your generation now has towards money and opportunities? You specifically, as well as your peers?
Gosh, I don't know.
So one aspect I'm kind of interested in, and I actually am sincerely interested in Brenna's thoughts on this. I think my wife Amy and I have been very intentional about giving our kids the opportunity to chart their own path and also struggle at times. and I would be interested in getting Brenna's view of, okay, hey, the family does have wealth that's been created by this this business, and yet I think my generation, second generation, because we all grew up working in the business, we saw the struggle, we know the challenges with running a family business, and I see it even with my siblings and how they're raising their children, that there's not just easy handouts. And as we now have third generation family members who are starting their own families, and you see their struggle with paying their mortgage, and I'm just interested in kind of Brenna's view, and from looking at it from the third generation, saying, hey, you guys are really making us struggle. Is that the right way to do it?
Like by not making us struggle, but letting us struggle with money,
letting you struggle, letting you figure out how do you make the car payment, how do you make ends meet. Yeah,
this is an interesting question. I think one thing from, I don't want to say coming from money, but from, I don't want to say they never struggled to make payments or anything, but it kind of almost felt like my whole life I was under an umbrella, or kind of lived in a bubble, because I never had to worry about, Christmas presents, getting what I wanted for Christmas, or food being on the table. Like, that was always taken care of. And I never saw any struggle that they had to do financially. So it was like when I got older and I then understood and realized what went into creating the business, as well as money in general, how much stuff costed. Okay, now I have a baby, I have to buy formula, I have to make rent. For our first year of our son's life, we actually lived at my parents' house. So things were super easy. We got a lot of help. They paid for a majority of our stuff. And then we moved out. And we struggled some months to make rent. Both my husband and I were working. And from going through that, now we're in a better place, and we both have jobs and we both work very hard. It's important to struggle, because without that, we have had handouts. And I think with the handouts, it kind of, I think sometimes it makes you a little less appreciative, because it's like, sometimes in the past, I know I've had the mindset of, I have my parents, kind of like a fallback.
It's a safety net.
It's a safety net, which isn't the right mindset to have, but I think it sometimes gave me that mindset of, if it's a pro and a con, because in your mind you think, if I ever really needed the help, I know they would be there because they love me and they want to support me. But also sometimes you need to figure out on your own. Like some months, we'd be behind on making payments or something, because also I don't want to just go ask my parents for X amount of money, right? So it's important to have that struggle, because you also have more of appreciation of how much work and time and effort people put into making their money, right? And it can be really hard, and it's also a huge eye opener, because you're going from this spot where everything's paid for, everything's taken care of, you never have to worry about clothes being on your back, food being paid for, and then all of a sudden it's, okay, what do you mean eggs cost $8? Like, like I said, it's definitely an eye opener.
I can kind of relate to that, because in high school growing up, I was given a gas card by my parents, a credit card just for one of the gas stations right near the neighborhood we were growing up.
Yeah.
Swipe it. My parents took care of the bill. I never had to worry about what the cost of putting gas in the tank of my car was to get to and from school.
Yeah.
That was something that they wanted to provide. Fantastic. One of the coworkers I had when I got my first job out of college on my own was, he was very excited about this job. It was the most he had made as an hourly rate ever in his life. And one day when we were going to lunch, he was like, yeah, man, I just really like the fact that I don't have to worry about if I swipe my card to put gas in my car, that it's going to get declined because I don't have any money in the bank. And that was a moment that I was like, I never had to even consider that growing up.
Yeah.
And this guy was an absolutely functional adult doing his thing. He's had his struggles.
Yeah.
But he never really complained about it. It was just a random conversation we were having. And it was one of those moments that hit me where I was just like, I never had to look at that. I came up in kind of a little bit of a sheltered upbringing as well. It was very comfortable. My parents did a lot of hard work as well to put food on the table, nice house, et cetera, et cetera. And I just didn't see the other side of things the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure I knew people who had much more struggles growing up, and I just didn't see it in them when we were at school together or anything else, because that wasn't a topic that we were going to converse about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The respect for how comfortable life can be, I think, is something that we definitely can take for granted. But it is also the type of thing that you want to provide, that comfortable living for people that you love.
Yeah.
Letting them struggle, how much of a struggle is that from a parent's point of view?
It is a struggle, and I think that's it's something that my wife and I we have talked about, and we've actually prioritized helping in certain areas. Even with our adult children, we've shared with our kids, as long as if they want to go and get further education, and they're making that a priority, we're willing to help in that area, for example, because my wife and I both feel that in education, and the more that you can learn, the more capable you're going to be be able to support yourself. And we're in a position where we can help them with, say, college expenses. Brenna she doesn't remember, because she was so young. She doesn't remember the struggle that my wife and I had. Financial growth. I didn't get handouts from my parents. I paid for my own college, paid for all my own expenses, and that was really important to me, because I wanted to stand on my own financially. And even as a young family, there were a lot of times when my wife and I were stressing about how do we get the bills paid. And Brenna just doesn't remember that. By the time she can remember, there was a little bit more fluency there, and we were able to provide more as far as Christmas gifts and those types of things. But there definitely has been stress over the years, so it wasn't easy. Yeah, and there was the added stress of being a business owner, and there's times when the business has done well. There's times when the business hasn't gone well, and there's kind of that strain on you that you've got to figure it out. You got to work through those challenges.
So as we're getting ready to kind of close up this, what do you believe is more important to instill in the next generation, or to provide an opportunity for them to build, or a mindset?
I think it's a mindset. I think instilling in the next generation that the most important wealth that they can have is actually connections, relationships with others. That's the most important form of wealth. Financial wealth, that's nice. Having people that you're close with that love and support you, and you love and support them in return, that is the most valuable wealth that we can have in life. And that the most important currency that we have in life is our time. And so prioritizing how do we spend that time. And you really can, I believe that you really can have both. When I say both, I believe that you can invest time both in those relationships, as well as be able to have financial wealth by prioritizing things like education, sound financial planning, and it's really there available to us.
Do you have plans for, given everything that we've talked about, your upbringing? You said you've got, what, a 1-year-old?
So that was a while ago. I have a 5-year-old.
5-year-old now.
An almost 2-year-old, and then I'm pregnant with our third.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
What are your plans in the future with instilling this type of knowledge and mindset into your own kids?
I think one of the most important things that my husband and I want to teach them is hard work ethic. Our oldest two are boys. My husband's pretty big on, tough boys, making sure that they work really hard and they earn things. I remember when I was younger, my parents, they would actually, to do chores, like if I emptied the dishwasher, they would put a quarter in my cup.
Of course.
And that's something we also teach our children, like
Okay.
clean up your room and I'll take you to the dollar store, something like that. Like my dad mentioned, no handouts, just hard work, work ethic, and being courageous. I'm a type of person that I always like to I like to always think outside of the box. I like to do scary things. And something that I always tell my husband, because my husband's a very cautious person, is that I think a lot of people that are very successful, they always made hard choices and they always did hard things. No one ever became successful just sitting around doing nothing. A lot of the time you have to put in the work and you have to make those scary choices and be courageous.
As we're getting ready to close this out, if you could give one piece of advice to the next generation of business owners, what would it be?
Be a learn-it-all. Be a learn-it-all. There are so many people out there who are willing to be generous with their knowledge. And so if there's something that you want to figure out how to do, if there's something in a business, even trying to figure out how do you start a business? How do you work through different business challenges? I've really, my life has been truly blessed by just people who've been so generous with their time and just connect with people. And if there's something you want to learn, find somebody who has already done it and just reach out to them. And I think you'll be surprised how many people will willingly spend hours with you, sharing their experiences and in helping you. Because I have found that people who have found success in certain areas of life, they love to share that experience and they love to help others find that same success.
I was going to say that was the other half that I was hearing in there, was not just be willing to learn it all, but be willing to share it, what the knowledge that you've gained over time with anybody else that's looking.
Yeah, so once you've found success in those areas, pay it forward. Pay it forward. Be generous with your time helping the next generation.
All right. Well, Brenna, Tony, thank you guys so much for joining us. And for everybody out there listening, this has been Dollars and Cents, Hapa Community Credit Union's Financial Literacy Podcast. Till next time.